Hey, welcome to my first video. This video is going to be on how to remove the gear shifter on a automatic New Edge Mustang. This is how I'm going to show how to remove in my 2000 Mustang GT. Now I'm making this video because I actually replaced this just yesterday and I could not find a good video on how to do it, so I basically did trial and error, and I did so many errors that I put it back together with two parts broken. And I went back to the junkyard and got those two parts, and I'm going to disassemble it and replace those two parts. But in the process I'm going to show you how to disassemble this, because I'm going to disassemble it all the way because I have to replace one of the parts. So the first part I will be replacing is the gear shifter cover. This one does not look broken, and it just does not look broken. I don't have a big deal on how it is broken, but it's cracked. This thin plastic cover right here is cracked right here, and there's a big crack behind it. You can't notice it because the cracks aren't very visible, but it just bothers me knowing that there's a crack. I'd rather, this one is intact, and so I'd like to get one that's intact. The other piece is the gear shifter knob. Now this one also, it just looks intact. It functions, it works perfectly. The problem is while trying to put it back on, when I was trying to fix it, I actually pulled out the overdrive cable. So this one does not have a functioning overdrive. The cables are just wound up down here, and I cannot turn on or off overdrive. So I'm going to replace that so I can. So I got these from the junkyard, and first thing I did was clean them as much as I could, and then I put this stuff right here. It's a Ultimate Black. It's a plastic restorer, and I actually have used it on these cup holders. They got really faded because I put them in hot water without thinking that it would fade it, and it turned pretty pale, and I used it and they look just like new, and I'm really glad about that. I also did use it because this was from the junkyard too. I got this piece from the junkyard and I had to use it on this because it was pretty faded, and I used it on these. This one, there's still some, it's still faded a little bit, it's just not that bad. This one, it was in pretty good shape. This was pretty nasty, and I cleaned it up and put that restorer on it, and it looks really good, so I'm happy with that. Now this also does not, I did not keep the button and the spring because I'm just going to use the one that are in here because they work just fine. The ones that came with it also, the spring was, it looked a little bit rusty and old, and the button was a little dirty, and I might as well just use the one that's in here. There's no reason not to. So the first step to removing it is, what you're going to want to do is put the key in, turn it to on position, and shift this into first. Now I'm on a hill, so I'm going to put wheel blocks behind my car because my parking brake does not work, and we're getting that fixed soon. But I'm going to put wheel blocks so the car does not roll, and then I will shift this into first with the keys in the on position. The car dings like crazy when that happens. It gets really annoying, but you have to deal with it. Okay, so I'm putting the key in, so I don't think you can see it. Putting it to the on position. I'm putting my hand on the brake. You can put your foot if you're in the driver's seat. And then I just put it into first. Okay. So now the car is in the first gear position. And then what you're going to need, your first tool is going to be a Allen wrench. And the size you will need is a 2. So I have a 2 on this tool, and you're going to want to use it inside this little hole on the back of the shifter knob. So I have my number 2 Allen wrench, and you're going to stick it to this hole right here, and there we go, it just locked in, and then it's just lefty-loosey. And it just comes right out, just like this. No, it's not out yet, I don't think. No, it is out. Woohoo! Okay. Now I'm going to keep, for the meantime, I will move it in just a second. There's a screw in there. I I haven't replaced it. But I'm going to keep it in the cup holder for now. But I will move it in just a second. So now you have the pin out. Now what you're going to need to do is take the button, push it in, and pull out. Take it. There we go. Came out. So this is the difference that y'all are going to have. Also, make sure this might shoot out. The button might shoot out. Or the spring. Okay, that's the button. The spring. I'm going to put it in the cup holder as well. There it goes. Now, this is the main difference that will be between mine and yours. Because mine is broken, when you take your knob off, there will be a wire and it won't be able to come in further off than this. This part will also probably stay on the shifter arm, or I think that's what you would call that. So mine is going to be a lot easier to take apart because of that. Just be aware that that will happen. But yeah, that's the difference between this can come off the sleeve like that. The sleeve just comes off, this goes on there. But for now, I'm just going to keep all the parts I'm going to need in the back seats. And I'm also going to put the small parts right there. So this is the knob that was on it. There's the overdrive. And the obvious difference is this is the new knob. And this one has the wire. Because when I tried to put this back on, it like snagged on the wires and pulled them out. So this is the new knob I'm going to be putting on. That's what's different. So the next step would be you're going to need a flat head, and what you're going to want to do is just, I would start up here and pry out. This piece right here is not held in by any screws, it's just clipped in place. So you should just be able to remove it. The flathead, there it goes. Oh, this is still connected up here. There we go. Now, when you remove this, you have two wires. At least I do. I don't know what this is. It's not plugged into anything. And I had to use a flathead to get this off. This is just a standard push on the side right here. Just going to push. Where is it? I can't. There it is. Right here. Push out, push in, and pull out. If I can get it. There it goes. Okay. So that is this cigarette lighter outlet thingy. Now this one, yeah, I'm going to need a flathead. They're really stiff, so I'm going to use a flathead to get that off. Alright, so I got that piece off. We now have this cover that is just clips that clip onto these little holes. So I'm going to put this in the back as well. So now you're left with this wide open. Now you can see down there, but before we get any further into this, you don't have to do this next step, but it really helps to do this. So what you're going to want to do is, what I'm going to do is to remove these two bolts, which I think they're 7mm, and then underneath the center console little compartment, you remove a screw here and here. I'm missing one of these. So there's two screws, and this thing is also clipped in, so it just pops out. And there will be two 7mm bolts down there, or you can use a star bit screwdriver, which that's what I will be using. But first, I will be getting these. So I just removed both 7mm bolts that are holding in the front of the center console with just a ratchet. Now, and I put the screws in the cup holders, but again, I will move these very soon because when we move all this, I don't want these to fly out accidentally. So next, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, which I have right here. I'm going to swap hands. And this piece comes straight off, and I'm going to put this in the center console and just take these out real quick. Okay, so I put the screws in the center console, and what you're going to want to do is, mine is missing this, so I kind of use this, but it should just pop out like that. And what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to move everything that was in the cup holders to the center console. So that was everything that was in the cup holders. I'm going to take the center console, I'm going to set it in the back. Hopefully this does not tip over. I'm going to set it right there. That should not tip over. And now that exposes those two 7mm or star bit bolts, which again I will be using the star bit, and it is a size 20 star bit that you will need, and these should just quickly come off. Alright, that is all 4 bolts taken out, 2 at the front, 2 at the back. Now what you should be able to do, I'm going to put this down for this, is you should be able to slide your center console backwards about 1/2 inch. That's about how far it goes. It's not too far, but it gives you significant room. It gives you, that 1/2 inch gives you a lot more room to work with in here. And that helps with 2 of the different things that you have to do to take this apart. So the next step will be to get the cover off, which you might, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this probably in neutral, just so then this is going straight up, because when we take this off, we don't want it hitting this. And even though the shift knob is still there, all you have to do is just press in this little white button and just push it in all the way, and you should be able to shift it. Alright, so now it's up in the neutral position. In fact, you might want to put it in reverse. That's even more straight up, but don't put it in park. That might be a little bit too far. So what you have is the same star bit I used for the center console bucket underneath it. There's 2 right here and right here. There's 1 right down there, and then there's going to be 1 down here. There it is. It's focusing now. When you have the center console unbolted, you will still have to bend this, but you can bend it a lot easier because it is unbolted, and you probably will not break it. So again, you will need the size 20 star bit, and you just want to unscrew those. Alright, so I got the 2 screws out. So what you're going to want to do is there's 2 posts, one here and one here. You want to stick your hand underneath, grab the cover basically right where those 2 posts are, and very carefully pull up. If you pull up, if you don't be careful with this and pull it up too fast, you could yank it up, and this guard can hit this and it will break. This can break pretty easy. That might be good. So you're going to want to stick your hands underneath and just slowly pull up. It is pretty stuck in there. There goes one side. There goes the other, like that. You just want to be very gentle with it. The 2 screws stayed in place, and it should just lift straight up and out. You do have the light bulb. Okay, I'm not getting a very good view of that. There is the light bulb that is plugged in to illuminate the different gears that you are in. So one thing that's different at this point from mine is you will still have your shifter knob and the sleeve hanging off of this. And so you will not be able to pull this off like I just did. So what you're going to need to do is, after you get this off and you can pull it up, this will be the next step I do, because I'm going to do it after I remove this because it'll be a little bit easier. But also, this is another reason why you want to pull this back. But down right here at the very base, there should be, now this is the wire that went up and came off. We put electrical tape on the ends and we tucked it under there. But if I pull it out, where did it go? There it is. Okay. So there should be this clip that's really tucked under there. I'm probably not going to be able to get a good view of me unclipping it. But all you do is just unclip it. It's just a simple electrical wire unclip. I'm not going to be able to get a good shot of it, so I won't get footage of it. But you're going to want to do that first, so then you can feed the wire out and take off the sleeve and the knob, so then you can slide this off. So for the sake of doing it in the correct order, even though I could do it in a much easier way, I'm going to be unplugging this first, and I'm not going to get footage of it again because it would be too difficult to try to do it and record. So I just got it unclipped. This is the clip. This is the side that was plugged into it. I don't know why it isn't focusing. Well, you can kind of see it. There's that little notch, and there's a plastic piece that comes over it that will unplug the knob, but in this case it's already out of the knob, so then I can just take it out. One thing that will be there though is it will be zip tied on the bottom of this. You will have to clip the zip tie. It's going to be really wrapped down there, and you're going to need to fish it through with a hook or needle nose plier, and it should pull all the way out, and then you should be left with this. It should look like this for you when you have it unclipped, the knob is removed, and the sleeve. So next, you can remove this, but you will have some troubles. It will kind of slightly snag because you have the light attached to eliminate the different gears. The light is really easy. All you do is just twist it slightly and it should come straight out. I'll try to do this in your video. So you just twist it slightly and it should come straight out. And so now you should be left with the gear shifter all taken apart. That is all the way taken apart. So first thing is going to be, like the last thing we took off, is the new gear shifter. The new cover. So make sure, obviously, you have it in the right orientation, which would be this way. Just slip it over. But first, actually, you want to put in the light. I just forgot about that. So the light wires are coming in through the back, so you're going to want them still going that way. So all you do is, I'm going to take the light, put it around this side of the leg, and then you have to put it 45 degrees. Make sure the wires stay on this side of the leg, and then just twist it, and so they're going back downwards, so it's not wrapping up the wires. And then you have to slide the guard all the way up. This is where you could crack the guard while putting it on, and I think that's where I cracked it while putting it in last time. Is when you're having to move all these parts. So there's that put in place. But we will take this off in just a second. Again, I know, but I'm just going to leave it there. And you're going to need the knob. You're going to need the knob and the sleeve, because you're going to fish the wires through the sleeve. So you're going to have the wire going through the sleeve, and you're going to pick this up, put the sleeve into this, and then put it on, because if you don't, you can break this, you can break the guard, and that's obviously, you don't want that. So the orientation of the sleeve is this wide part at the top. Should be the top, like I just said. That's the part that goes over, will go over this plastic part. So also, this is a little shaped. It's shaped like a teardrop just a little bit. You're going to want the point of it facing that way, and that's where the wire is going to run down. That creates room for it. So it's going to go on with the point facing that way towards the front of the car, and it should go with the fat part on top, and just like that. So I fed the wire through the sleeve like this, and what we're going to do is take off the cover, and this is going to be a little bit difficult because it's going to be all in kind of one motion. Okay, so hopefully you can see what I do. I'm going to take off the sleeve very carefully. I hope it's getting, I can't see if it's getting the shot. So you take it off, you're going to want to feed the cord through there, and then what you're going to want to do is make sure the sleeve is in the right orientation. Very carefully put it through there. There we go. You got it in, and it should just slide down slowly. You don't, make sure it's not snagging. Okay, I'm going to stop it there, but I'm not putting it all the way down because I've got a wire. I've got to wrap the wire around and plug it back in to the overdrive connector. And this is going to be the hard part because I cannot show. It's going to be hard to show what I'm doing. So the wire is going to run down through the back. Hopefully you can see the pick. It's going to run down through the back. It needs to go down into this hole, and there's a bolt right here. It needs to run underneath this bolt. And then when it has the zip tie, it comes down, and the zip ties keep it from getting in the mechanisms. But without the zip tie, you need to make sure it goes underneath this metal tooth guide. I don't know what to call it. It's whatever guides the different gears. It needs to go underneath it and out this side. That will keep it out of this plastic piece right here. That little yellow plastic piece. If you don't do that, when I did it, it got snagged. It kind of snagged this, and it prevented me from shifting gears very well. So make sure you shift it, wire it and get it through this side. So it's going to go down the back, down into here, underneath this bolt. You can kind of see it. And underneath here, and out here. And I'm going to use the pick for it because it's just very small. You could also use needle nose pliers, but I will be using the pick because that's what I found to be the easiest. Alright, so I got it wired. It took me about 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know how long it took, just somewhere around there. You need to actually make sure that the knob is all the way on the sleeve, or else you won't have enough slack to pull it all the way through. Well, I don't know why it's not focusing, but I'll try to do it without it focused. Sorry about that, but that little black thing right there, man, this is terrible. I don't know why, but that's the wire. So I have it running down the back. It is going underneath this bolt, and then underneath here, and there's the end. Now I cannot go any further than that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this all down, and at the same time I will need my other hand because I'm going to grab this and pull it out. So that will pull all the slack out, and then I will clip it up. Okay, that's about actually how far it goes until this starts hitting the top of the knob. So that's just, see how it's not moving, and that actually provided me just enough slack to get to the clip, so I will clip that in, and then we will finish the installation process. Alright, that's the overdrive clipped in, again having the center console pulled back just that ½ inch. Obviously you can see it's just on the edge, so if you didn't have that ½ inch it would be pretty difficult. I was able to slide this back and forth, so that gave me extra room. So now, with that gone, I'm going to slide this down, make sure I line up these 2 pegs to that hole and that hole. And once they go in, it should line up the whole thing. Something that seems to happen all the time is these 2 feet where the screws go in catches plastic on this side. So just be careful about that and don't push down too hard or you can crack it. So just very, very carefully slide this down. I'm going to kind of twist it. There it goes, and it should line up. And it just caught. See how the teeth on this side just caught? I had to pull it back a little bit, and then it should. You're gonna have to probably slide it around a little bit, and there we go. And that's in. That is pushed in place, and it lined up those. So now I will need to get the center console with the, and then, oh, this is actually not pushed in all the way, so let me actually do that real quick. So now that you have this in place, we're going to fix the shift knob because we want to make sure it's not pulling on this. So what you're going to want to do is I'm going to remove the shift knob actually and have it slightly dangling, and I'm going to get the sleeve in position first. The head has this little channel at the top right there, if you can see it. I'll try to zoom in. It has this channel on top. That's where the wires need to be fed through. If you don't, you can kink the wires. I was trying to go in perpendicular like this. You see how it's perpendicular to this, to the movement it does. It actually does not sit perfectly perpendicular. It sits at about a 20-degree angle offset this way. So you keep that in mind. Don't try to push it like I did. I tried to push it in place like this. It goes in like this, and it will slide in basically perfectly. So first, you put the spring in, and you put the button in the right way. And then what you're going to do is push in the button, rotate the knob to the right orientation, and push down, and it should click in place. And the way you know if it's in place is if you release the button goes and does not pop out. If it's not in place, the button will look like that. But if the button stays in like that, that means you have it in the right place and it's locked in and you're good. So the spring goes in there's a little hole down in there, and this goes in. You're going to push the button in, and then you're going to want to kind of rotate it. Make sure the wires are going the right way. So I actually got mine in place while I was trying to figure out what was going on. I think I figured out what was going on, and I figured out how I pulled it out last time. The 2 wires, you have to actually make sure the whole entire way down when they're up there, If they aren't in the groove going down the back, they will prevent this from clipping in, so you have to make sure it's all the way tight on the back. And I was able to actually pull a lot more slack down here, so make sure this is pulled back, and you should be able to get this in, and it clicks in place. The button stays in, so the button's there, it won't come out. So I have it all the way forwards, the car's beeping at me, and I've screwed it in. And do not lose it. It's very, very, very small. And you don't have to get this very tight. That's about as tight as I'll go. Again, I can't tell you exactly like the torque rating, just not go tight where it won't come undone, obviously, but not so tight that you're going to strip it and prevent it from coming out. So next, I'm going to put in the 2 screws for this. Since the posts are in, they're already aligned. So I got those 2 screws in. So next up, we need to put the center console back. Okay, so all 4 bolts are in, and these actually, I barely get them super snug because it will crack the plastic up here, so I don't get these too tight, but I put these a little bit tighter because it's on this metal, but not super tight. The center console, and this just slides in and just should pop in place. There it goes, just popped in place, and then you have those 2 screws up here. Alright, so I finished the center console. These don't have to be tight either. So now we move back up, and all that's left should be the cap that just clips on. So you're done fastening things, but make sure before you clip it on, plug in the 2 plugs, at least for me. And I think you have to pull this back. I don't know if I'll be able to fit that over. Yeah, I'm gonna pull it back and plug it in and put it in place. Alright, with it slid in place and plugged with the outlet thing plugged in, and this other thing, I have no idea what it is. It should just pop in place. No screws required. And there you go. That is the entire center console disassembled and reassembled. With now I have a new knob and cover. Thank you for watching, and just keep your eye out for my new videos.